Hi, welcome. If you're new to the channel, my name's Elliott and you're watching Rickety Ski Reviews. Today, we're gonna be talking about ski racing a little bit more. Specifically, Mikaela Shiffrin. Earlier in the season, I had talked about Mikaela Shiffrin's injury and how I kind of didn't like the course set and she's been doing more of these speed events. And honestly, it kind of seemed like for the health of her career, it didn't seem like a huge payout for her to be doing these speed events where she's really good at technical events. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think she should do them at all, and I applaud her for really taking on every discipline. But I was a little bit like, okay, if we're gonna have these big stars do these events, they should be safer. There's no reason that like kind of the poster child for American skiing should be getting injured this much or should be really like shortening their career with every crash. At least that's how I see it. But you know, that's kind of old news, and she came back from her injury and was working towards coming back onto the circuit. And there was a lot of question, is she gonna come back and do these other events? Is she gonna do GS? Is she just gonna do slalom? I didn't follow it that closely, so I do kind of know the basics just from the people that I follow. But today we're gonna be reacting to some of her content, and recently she won another Slalom World Cup title, so we're gonna watch that run as well. But I think just as a primer, I do look at these speed events like as just really easy ways for athletes to shorten their careers, and especially with Mikaela, however they're setting their courses, it's not healthy for the sport to have big star athletes just getting injured all the time. So I like watching speed events, but not as much as I like watching more technical events. I'm sure that the viewership isn't that high, and it just seems like a gigantic waste in my opinion. Now it's cool that they do them, it's cool that people go that fast, but I would present the question to you. Do you guys watch speed events? I don't. I think it's like 1 or 2 runs is kind of cool, but after a while it gets really boring and really monotonous. The runs are really long, they're not as technical, you're not watching kind of those quick turns like slalom and GS. So I guess, do you guys watch speed events? I barely watch skiing anymore as it is, but when I do watch it, I like watching kind of the stars do slalom and GS. But that's my opinion. Maybe you guys would have something different to say. But without further ado, let's first react to Mikaela Shiffrin's little update just on her injuries and what she's doing. So here we go.
Hey, just want to say thank you all for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. And I had a nice day. I had a productive GS session actually, but we have just run out of time to go through the right progression to be ready to race GS at World Cup Finals on Sunday. So we're taking GS off the schedule. I'm going to focus on slalom. I'm really excited for one final slalom race of the season. I'm looking forward to pushing out of the gate one more time and then get right into prep for next year. So thank you again for the birthday wishes, and yeah, here we go.
Okay, yeah, that's really smart. That makes a ton of sense. I don't know why they would try to push it with GS. I mean, GS isn't the most brutal, but if you're injured, it can do a lot of damage. There's a lot of, I don't know, kind of G forces on each GS turn. Whereas slalom, you still have to be very athletic, but it's a little bit more technical and your top speed is lower. The G forces aren't as high, but you're still getting a lot of turns. So overall, it still can be pretty exhausting depending on the course set. But this is very refreshing. After I spent a lot of my youth watching Lindsey Vonn go from injury to injury, from Julia Mancuso going injury to injury. All these women just constantly getting like wounded and permanently injured and being in knee braces and being in and out of surgery. You know, it's like snip, snap, snip, snap, snip. It's like, God, who was the head coach there? And what were they doing? And why wasn't there more preventative measures? You know, when I ran and skied, we would have full athletic trainers, you're doing ice baths, you're making sure that you're not hurting yourself, that you're recovering properly. And I'm sure they did some of that back then, but I gotta look at like the training schedule and whatever the World Cup schedule was like. And after how many knees being blown out, why didn't anyone change the existing system and put some more safety nets in place? So I think this is a really smart move from either Mikaela or Mikaela's team or Mikaela's coach/team, however you want to phrase it. But this is extremely intelligent, and I like seeing athletes look at their career long-term rather than just, well, I can chase this World Cup title right now. It's like, okay, well, you can have a pretty long career if you take care of yourself, and a lot of what cuts skiers' career short is injuries. It's just battling injuries over time and eventually having it catch up with you. That was a big reason Julia Mancuso left. That was a big reason Lindsey Vonn's career got cut short. Even Ted Rickety had back problems. I don't know. I like Mikaela. I'm not like the biggest Mikaela fan. I'm not a fanboy. I know somebody who grew up skiing with her, but I don't really know her directly. And you know, I watched some of her, you know, Tonight Show interviews, and they're a little weird, but this is like the most impressive thing, honestly, she's done in her career to me, because it shows a ton of maturity. A lot of young athletes don't think this long-term about their career, and this is really, really smart. It's cool to see her kind of mature and take this long-term look at her career and just say, yeah, we're just going to do slalom and focus on that and then work towards the next season. I think a lot of times too, people don't think about the seasons, and it's like you're always kind of working one season ahead when you're doing this stuff. You know, nobody shows up to the race like, okay, I'm always in the bottom 50, but today I'm gonna win. It's like, no, that stuff's built in the off season essentially. Very cool. Okay, let's see her winning run. All right, this next video comes from NBC Sports. Mikaela Shiffrin ends epic season with come from behind World Cup Slalom win. Somebody needs to work on your guys' titles, because like some of these words are capitalized and some of them aren't. Anyway, if you hear random lo-fi music, that's not from the original video. It's just me covering up something that was copyright claimed. So keep that in mind if you hear any kind of weird audio issues. Last time it didn't come up, but you never know. All right, here we go.
Come on, Mikaela. Ready? Go.
She has won 6 times in slalom this season, but only twice has she come from behind after the first run. That's what she's facing here now in Saab.
Okay, you see how in the beginning her upper body is just like so calm? It almost looks like she's just not even moving her upper body. That's because she's trying to keep it in this tunnel. They call it like a corridor, where if you have gates, if you're looking down like the barrel of the gun of the slalom course and you have gates on either side, essentially what she's trying to do is keep her body, her mass, going straight down that fall line and trying to get as little movement there as possible and get her legs just kind of sweeping out and grabbing and kind of getting on the outside of the gates to break that plane. You don't always see it with slalom, but there's essentially 2 gates and you just have to break this plane with your skis in order to qualify. And so your upper body staying in that corridor is what creates that separation, and then you're cross blocking. So she looks really calm, but she's working very hard to kind of keep her upper body in that area. It's a little bit weirdly similar to like synchronized swimming. You see these people kind of floating above the water and it looks magic, but their legs are working overtime to kind of keep them afloat. This is a very similar concept.
Bach trailing by just over 1/10 of a second.
And there's a little gut check right there. Again, when you get your weight back like she just did, which she rarely does, that's when the sort of alarm bells go off, at least for me, in terms of the injury that she's come off of, a slight.
What? Who's commentating this? Yeah, that's not necessarily. Sometimes the texture of the snow just changes. It'll get really icy or ruddy in some of those turns. It could be that she like needed to get really low to hit a certain part of the line. It could be a rut from the course. That's making a narrative about her injury to build suspense from the commentators. That's not real. I mean, I guess it's possible, but it seems unlikely. Usually if you're kind of skidding out like that, it's like that platform that you built on your downhill ski, maybe it got washed away. Maybe you purposely threw it to the side to scrub speed to kind of set up your line. That's like a totally real thing that tactical racers do. It could be a number of things. It's very unlikely that it's due to injury. I guess it's possible, but it would not be my first guess. I would guess, hey, some kind of separation from her skis platform on her downhill ski either gave out, or purposely she slid out her turn because she wants to be really fast through the next section. Anyway, I'm calling baloney when I see it. I don't care, NBC commentators. You're probably somebody famous, but I would highly doubt that's what's going on.
Knee injury, an ankle injury, those hurt when you make recoveries like that.
But all she can do right now is think about what it takes to produce good fast skiing, and she knows.
What is this, sports psychologist commentating? Okay, she looks great there. Her downhill platform is perfect. She set up her line great. She's really strong through the turns. Her like turn initiation is perfectly timed. If you look at the split, basically they'll set little wands along the way to see where people are at. I mean, she's killing it in the split marker. She's way ahead of the field. Oh, the sports psychology of your ankle and your injury and what does it make to be a champion? Meanwhile, she's like absolutely slaying. Look at that body position. She's like up here ready to go, facing down into the finish line. Her skis are set up perfectly. She's setting up her line just like she wants. This is really great skiing. And Mikaela is a Burke Mountain Academy alumni. I'm from East Burke, Vermont. I'm not a Burke Mountain Academy alumni. I am like a local to that area, so I do like the junior racing program. But I know, anyway, I loosely know people through it. And it's a whole different breed. Like, how they hammer those athletes is just insane. And it's cold and icy up in northern Vermont. And so they get really good at those conditions. You get really strong with edge initiation. This is really good skiing though. And sometimes the camera doesn't show you. They inject this snow with ice to make it firmer and more consistent. And she is making it look effortless. I know the commentators are making this underdog story to keep viewership, but yeah, I'm sure her injury hurts. I'm not downplaying that. I bet that's brutal. But she is just executing like a pro.
Knows what that is. And so that's all she's going to be thinking about right now. She's obviously got a tactical approach to this course, but it's her technique right now that is going to propel her to a win.
Well, you mentioned it earlier, you know, the lights have gone out. This is an uncomfortable situation, even for the greatest skier of all time.
Man. Yeah, this is a hard set. She's keeping her speed under control while still taking like the most direct line she can. I love that GoPro angle where she's like got her hand kind of dragging. I mean, she's not doing it all the time, but through big combinations. What do they call that? They call that a delay, right? Yeah. When you've got a delay like that, it basically means you'll get two gates going in the same motion. So you have kind of one big open GS turn through the through line, and then you need to get back into position. And so yeah, doing that kind of hand drag through that delay looks really good and is very smart. I wish that they showed slalom more from the uphill perspective. I'm sure it's hard to do, but you could see how they're setting up their line, where maybe they're looking more skidded up here, but they're gonna kind of dial it through on the flat. Because it would show you the tactics better, rather than making up this narrative. I mean, yes, she's injured. It's not a fake narrative, but it's not necessarily showing in her skiing either.
And now she's starting to put it together.
Shiffrin.
Starting to put it together? You don't put together a run like that in the last 4 gates. Essentially, in these last 4 gates, you're just trying to carry your speed through that turn. You're trying to make sure you keep your momentum without missing any gates, right? Because it gets kind of flat at the end there. So you don't want to like get hung up and then be skating through the finish. But she looks great. She looked great the whole way through. Oh, she's got to make it happen here. It's like, yeah, it's like saying, if you've ever run track and run like an 800-meter race, people will say, now's the time, you know, in the last 100 meters. But the race wasn't decided in the last sprint to the finish. Yes, things can change. You could get second versus third, or you could get first instead of second. But in order to be there in the beginning, you had to run the other 700 meters hard. So this narrative of like, now is whether she wins or not, I don't know. It makes me roll my eyes a little bit.
Soaring through the final gates, and Mikaela is on top in Saalbach.
That was a fight for her. That was a fight. Nothing came easy in that run.
Wow, half a second is a lot. It's a lot in like a high school level race, and it is just a mile when it comes to World Cup racing, where races are decided by hundredths of seconds and you're almost half a second ahead. That's unheard of. I mean, it's not unheard of. Mikaela does it a lot, but it's not as commonplace as I think people have gotten used to Mikaela being so dominant, and it's not that common.
Not at all. And she reminded me of Odermatt a little bit on the bottom half of that course, where she just said, I own this. I know how to do this. I'm going to send it. And she did.
Yeah, look at how she's basically throwing it, and she's pre-initiating that ski so that it catches right where she wants. If you've ever played Mario Kart, it's like you start skidding because you know the skid is going to stop at the apex of like a barrier. I'm weird to use Mario Kart, I know, but she's like setting up that slide so that it catches right here and she can come through it. It's a weird analogy, but it's beautiful skiing.
I'm going to send it, and she did.
But it came late. It came late, and I have to say, right now, for Anna Sven Larsson, the door is open.
Look at her just sneak through that.
Yeah, so that's a flush. That's basically 2 gates. Instead of breaking the plane like this down the hill, where you have to go in between these, they stack them, so you have to kind of break the plane through both. You're basically just trying to wiggle your way through without getting your skis caught. Those are called like, those technical sections are areas where skis can get hung up, and if your ski tip even breaks through on the other side, you're disqualified. So you're trying to wiggle through with minimal movement, but enough movement that you don't get disqualified.
Bottom part and just almost like skating on a set of hockey skates and just...
Yeah, and if you've ever wondered why people kind of put their pull through like that, essentially you have a little laser wand, and whenever that gets triggered, the timer stops. So you're just, I mean, it's like, it might add like 1/10 of a second, but that can be a big deal in these races, and you're just trying to break that plane as quickly as you can, rather than waiting for your ankle to pass through it.
Gaining momentum.
Yeah, she finished strong, no question.
But how intimidating is it when you're the last skier at the top and you know Mikaela Shiffrin is leading at the bottom? The Swede Anna Sven Larsson. Final skier in slalom this season. Trying to win for the 3rd time in her career and 2nd time this season.
I will say this about Sven Larsson is that it's rare that I see her back off in any second run situation, but she's got to be tactically smart because there's a couple of traps in here. She, like Shiffrin, has been caught.
Oh man, see how different those ski styles are? That's a very European ski style, and I mean that with the utmost respect to my European viewers and just Europeans in general. You guys know how to carve, but it's very different. I see one and I see like a Vermont skier who's very disciplined on fundamentals, and this person is more on tactics and strength, and they are just barreling through it. You can see how their upper body is kind of here and they're just charging through it. It's not like better or worse or whatever. It's just so different. It's so different than what I'm used to watching American skiers. And I don't really follow the World Cup that much anymore, but I can always tell it. Yannicka Kostelic used to ski like that a little bit. Benny Reich kind of did as well. I mean, every skier has different styles, but you definitely find trends within areas. And for like a long time, US skiers all skied like Bodie Miller, which was kind of reckless and in the back seat. And then when Ted took hold, you kind of saw the paradigm shift of what coaches taught. It's super interesting.
A little bit unawares, on her heels a little bit.
Ooh, she's reaching.
Lead slipping.
Yeah, you remember how they commented on Mikaela's injury because she was kind of getting her hand down, sliding across, or she was like kind of skidding out and controlling her speed? It was to set up for the more technical areas below. It was a tactical move that this woman is not doing. And I would guess she's feeling the pressure. She doesn't want to give up any time, where she doesn't have a lot of gap between her and Mikaela, but I would guess that that is ultimately her demise, because when you carry too much speed into really technical areas, it's really... you can get behind the course, your rhythm can get off, and then you're having to go way around just to make up for that.
You know, she knows it, right? She knows that that mistake right there is not the kind you can suffer and expect to go in front of Shiffrin. So I'm guessing that she's going to push it now.
Yeah, she's got to keep her hands forward and down and low.
Push it now, like she's not pushing it. Also, I love the woman giving her advice. Like, dude, you up there on the podium? You need to charge your hands forward. Like, what? Oh, she's going to take that in while you're saying it? God, I know no one's watching me. I'm on YouTube, but come on. This woman is a world-class skier. Give her a little respect. It's a different style, too. It doesn't look just like Mikaela, but that doesn't mean it's not good.
Even just to reach the finish line right now.
Oh, she has lost the lead for the...
Yeah, see her line now? She's having to go way outside. Skiing isn't always about being the fastest. A lot of times it's about the least amount of distance traveled. That's a really good lesson. I did V-Link years ago with Ted Rickety up in Mount Hood, and you know, they kind of would clock our speed, and then they took a high-speed camera and got our frame by frame. And I looked at it and I go, oh my gosh, I'm going faster than Ted. It was like 9.1 versus 8.6, whatever. But I'm going a little faster than Ted. And then you look at it, and he would be a half a second per gate ahead of me. So, or is that right? Quarter of a second, whatever. He was like 1/10 of a second faster than me in every gate. But if every course is 60 gates, that's a full 6 seconds ahead in that one slalom section. So what he was doing is he was not going as fast as me, but he was going way less distance because technically he was a much better skier. And that's what you're seeing here, where this woman isn't a bad technical skier, but she didn't set up her line as well, where Mikaela was kind of scrubbing and hedging her bet, slow down ahead of time, and then kind of cruise through that more technical section. Let's keep going though. I can see that she's struggling to hold her line though.
Lead for the first time here. She's got to make it up, and not a lot of real estate left. Anna Sven Larsen coming to the finish in Solbach, Austria. She's into third. And Mikaela Shiffrin, another hill and more Alpine history.
Yeah, see, this is what I'm always talking about. Like, I would bet that if you put split markers more along the way, in the first maybe 25%, third of the course, that woman from Sweden was faster because she had a more aggressive line. But what happens is when you have to scrub through the technical parts that are flat, you lose that time. So she overall missed out on a lot of time because she wasn't more tactical with like, hey, let me set up and scrub some speed like Mikaela did when they said, oh, look how injured she is. She's having to scrub speed. That was smart. She was setting up for a better line overall. And then she was able to kind of cook through into the finish, whereas that woman was having to take a very wide line and just kind of struggle through the finish. And I say that like I could do that. I couldn't. This is very hard skiing, but I'm just giving you my analysis as someone who's done this on a much lower level.
For the first time, she wins in Solbach. It is 60 career slalom wins and 97 World Cup wins across all disciplines. Anna Sven Larsen, first run leader, drops.
Yeah, I mean, you're still getting a bronze medal in the World Cup. How angry can you really be? That's awesome. You know, this is kind of an aside, but thank God for Michael Jordan, right? Thank God Michael Jordan went out, played, you know, just dominated basketball, and then went and played baseball and just couldn't do that. Because after 60 Slalom World Cup titles, you know, when does Mikaela go, oh, you know, maybe I should do backgammon. Maybe I just need to stretch my legs a little bit here. And, you know, because everyone's seen how it went for Michael Jordan, I like that athletes kind of avoid that stuff. This is super cool. At this point, she's just got to be happy with the process, be happy where she's at, and it's got to be nice to be distracted from your injury, from turmoil in a season, because it's a tough mental game to play and just feel like you're losing ground on everyone else. So, yeah, I think this was a win-win for everyone. You know, this woman from Sweden still did great. Mikaela, despite her injury, was still able to get out there. And look, she still got a World Cup globe, and she didn't have to break herself to do it. She didn't have to further injure herself in downhill, Super G, whatever. Chef's kiss. Whoever made that decision, Mikaela or Mikaela's coach or Mikaela's team, whoever made that decision, chef's kiss. That was smart. And at the end of the day, you have to give Mikaela Shiffrin credit because she kind of pulled the trigger on that decision and was able to execute it. Some athletes don't do that. Their coach tells them something and they're going to go do whatever. Or she just made that decision for herself. I mean, she's an adult woman. Of course she could have made that decision for herself. I'm just saying, whoever's decision it was smart. And she still got to have a feel-good season at the end. Doesn't get any better than that. Doesn't get any smarter than that. US athletes in the sport of skiing have gotten a lot smarter over the years. So anyway, that's the end of this video. I know it's a little different than what you guys might be used to, but I don't know. I think it's nice to take a little change of pace from all of the ski reviews and skiing content and get back to some of that React content because I liked watching this. So I hope you enjoyed it as well. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. That helps my channel out for free. You can also join as a member, and that's a good way to financially support the channel. But honestly, really what matters to me is that you guys took the time to watch my video and just be here. I really appreciate that. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. See ya.